There is hardly any other, virtually every other day or every other week, we have had to pass motions about these killings. We have had to invite the security chiefs to tell us what they are doing differently, etc., etc. And sometimes I ask myself, these people who have been killed, do our 1 or 10 minute silence really brought silence to their homes and their families? Are we going to accept this as a way of life in our country? This has been on for several years. I think our purpose, Mr. President, is no longer to take this thing on ad hoc basis. When they occur, we cry, we do 1 minute silence, they ask for relief. No relief for a man who is dead. What manner of release are you giving to a man who is gruesomely murdered? I feel, listen to Mr. President, your last comment, I find some courage that we can build on it. That maybe under your leadership, sir, this Senate should set up an ad hoc committee and carefully select the membership in a way that we reflect the political diversity and conduct a public hearing. This act must stop. And we can't stop it by words of mouth. Resolutions don't change. So if we have a comprehensive public hearing, we have people who are trained to deal with this aspect of business. What do we do differently? Because we were not always like this. How did we get here? Such a public hearing, I'm sure there are well-meaning Nigerians who share our concern. These ones that are mentioned, they are not the only one. Even in my small village, are other villages that are not on Nigeria map. Nigeria farmers are unable to go to work. I found that in some cases where the DPO is properly briefed, they are able to comb the bush, and they find where some people set up some temporary homes where they kidnap, they maim, and they rape. These people are visible. And sometimes I wonder if somebody liked the will to deal with them. On a particular occasion, I saw a poor farmer went to farm, and they just shot at his hand in his own community. And I was tempted to say, do anybody have monopoly of violence? But then as leaders, we can't ask everybody to take law into their hands. Because I think on a deeper investigation, maybe everybody is a victim. So I want to plead with you, sir, that although his motion has, in my opinion, of limited effect, that we take advantage of this to set up an ad hoc committee, conduct a public hearing, invite people who are knowledgeable in the universities, community leaders, farmers, security agencies, and let us look at a holistic solution where legislation is required. Under your leadership, I am sure you have the will for us to so legislate. Where enforcement is the issue, we identify those who are lacking their capacity to enforce. What we owe these people goes beyond rhetoric, go beyond condemnation, go beyond 1 minute silence, go beyond crying every day. No, our tears will solve this problem. I submit, sir, that we set up an ad hoc committee, invite public hearing, let it be well publicized, let everybody come there and share with us what they know, enrich our limited knowledge of what is going on across the country, and let us find, once and for us, a lasting, sustainable solution so that this country can be what it used to be, and our farmers can go to work, herders can do their business. What is good for herders is not bad for farmers. What is bad for farmers is not good for herders. Together, we can find a win-win solution so that Nigerian rural people can be at peace in the days of those of us who have migrated to Abuja and some other urban places. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Karimi.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name is Ahmed Lawan. I represent Yobe North. Mr. President, let me commend our friend and brother and colleague, Senator Isaac Brin, for this, and of course, condole the people of his senatorial district. We are all aware that the clashes between the herdsmen and farmers has been a very long-standing phenomenon across the country, and the banditry that subsequently came into play has caused a lot of life. And Mr. President, there is no section of this country that has not or does not suffer from this. Initially, most of it was happening in the north. But today, it has consumed the entire country. So to me, Mr. President, this issue is a security issue as much as it is an economic issue. And when we discuss this, I think we should have no hold back. And I mean here, we should say it as it is because we are looking for solutions. Some of the things I may say may not be pleasant, but I'm convinced that they will help us in finding lasting and enduring solutions. Mr. President, we must continue to protect the lives and property of our citizens. This is the most important essence of government, like we all know. But like one of our colleagues here have said, Mr. President, the history of how the herdsmen, particularly the Fulanis, turn from herdsmen, real herdsmen, genuine herdsmen, pastoralists, into some of them being bandits today, killing across the country, will give us an idea of what happened. Here you have a people who don't have any means of livelihood but to rear their animals. And like we all know, certain things happened. Animal or livestock wrestling or cattle wrestling, many of them lost their cattle, most of them. And of course we know that they don't know any other thing. So, Mr. President, today as it is, the livestock industry is worth 30 trillion naira. In fact, some authorities will tell you it's 33 trillion naira in Nigeria. So this is a very important industry, and we cannot neglect it. While we deal with those who kill our people, we must be looking at the possibility, the necessity, and imperative of making government, the federal government particularly, to see how to resuscitate the lives and livelihood of those who are willing to remain within the boundaries of the law. Somebody will tell you, well, it's business. What can be more business than banking? As a government, we gave banks the opportunity, some of them will steal money, and today we are neck deep in AMCON with funds stolen by major people in this country. They say it's toxic, so government of Nigeria should take. Nigerians, it's your responsibility. We gave money to this course and Gen course, Mr. President. This course was sold, all the 11. And even after they were sold, privatized, government was still giving them money, up to 1.4 trillion. Why should we do that? This industry, the livestock industry, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, is a major industry. We have to have a way, and I like the idea of conducting a national summit I don't know how it will look like, but it is very important, Mr. President, you lead the Senate to have a national summit on livestock development and then the subsequent insecurity that we face. I don't know when those who know better will sit and come up with something. But let me round up, Mr. President. I believe that we have to be very decisive funding our security agencies to protect our people and their property. But I also believe that government should have a responsibility. The government should take the gauntlet, provide something to resuscitate the lives of the people who didn't know anything but rearing of animals. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Senator Dr. Titus Zam. I represent Benue Northwest Senatorial District. Mr. President, if you listen even from the tone of my voice, you will know that I am bleeding internally as a result of some of the reactions that have accompanied this motion from my brother, the senator from Kogi. Mr. President, all over the world, what guides human behavior is enabling laws. Only law can determine whether our behavior is right or wrong. The Senate is the highest law-making institution in this country. The issue of farmers' herders' crisis has defied all security efforts. The only option that is yet explored is that of having a law prohibiting open grazing in this country. Once you have that law in place, those who engage in animal husbandry, we now know that it is unlawful to carry animals from Zamfara to Makodi, and along the way, you kill everybody on the route, leading to wherever you want to go. Once that law is not there, then everybody becomes free to now carry arms and move freely into other people's communities. Because some people have advantage of being in power in this country. They have advantage of developing themselves economically such that they are able to amass weapons which they now use to terrorize other parts of this country. And when we begin to justify that by saying other institutions, other people have misconducted themselves, but government has supported them in one or other, then we are indirectly justifying the killing of innocent people by those who engage in such acts. I therefore suggest that open grazing prohibiting law must be enacted by this Senate so that those who engage in animal husbandry will be compelled to go by way of ranching so that the animals will be kept in one place. There is no reason whatsoever. If we have laws governing other aspects of our life, what is difficult in this Senate enacting a law to stop this free movement of animals and then the killing of people that accompany those who carry these animals in this country? That will be my suggestion, sir. I want to say here that by tomorrow, I will bring a bill on animal that will control animal husbandry in this country by way of going towards ranching. We don't have as much cows in Nigeria as we have in US and other parts of the country. But the animals are ranched. And so people don't have this problem. So how can we have those few animals in this country and then you carry them around, killing people and doing all kinds of things? Mr. President, I want to thank you for giving the privilege to talk. Thank you very much.
Organization, where are you going to pass Are you going to pass in universities, private mansions? Or are you, so, and how do you educate the farmers from outside West Africa that they already know, that are already traditionally aware of the old roots, of the new roots that you have created? And are you going to do that through the coastal routes, or are you doing it through people's buildings and schools? But the motion has been moved and seconded. Those who are in support of establishing new grazing routes. Yes, Senator Monguru. But the motion has been moved and seconded.
Yes.
By our rules, we have to put the question.
Okay.
Those in support of the creation of new routes for grazing, say aye. Those against, say nay. The nays have it. Yes, Senator.
Point of order.
There are recurring attacks by gunmen, leading to killings and destruction of properties and farmlands, thereby rendering many homeless with no means of sustenance. Worried that Agojeju Odo, Ajokpachi Odo, Bagaji and Bagana communities have been ravaged by recent gunmen, rendering over 30,000 inhabitants of the communities homeless, leading to exodus of these inhabitants to other parts of Kogi State. Disturbed that on 5th April 2024, armed headers invaded the Agojeju Odo, Ajokpachi Odo, Bagaji and Bagana communities, killing 21 innocent citizens, including women and children, in addition to unprecedented destruction of their farm produce. Alarmed that on 30th April 2024, gunmen attacked Ajokpachi Odo community in Omala local government area, killing no fewer than 3 persons and rendering the entire community desolate, with no health facility to cater for the deteriorating health conditions of the survivors. Further alarmed that the attacks on these communities in Omala local government area have resulted in the killing of over 500 citizens, in addition to wanton destruction of public and private properties worth hundreds of millions of naira. Concerned that after much persuasion, the displaced persons have resolved to return to their ancestral homes, but cannot afford shelters and have no means of sustenance. Further concerned that educational institutions have been destroyed, with many buildings and other facilities completely burnt down, thereby making it absolutely difficult for the children of the affected communities to access educational facilities. Regrets that the number of out-of-school children in the affected communities is disheartening, and this poses a serious danger to the future of the children, the communities, and the nation in general. Further regrets that apart from destruction of schools, health centers are obviously non-existent to cater for the health needs of the affected communities, as the few hitherto existing ones have been lost to the hostilities, and this has increased the rate of mortality in the affected communities. Cognizant that markets, business centers, shops, and various business outfits in the affected communities have been completely destroyed, thereby throwing the people to an inevitable state of economic helplessness. Accordingly, the Senate resolves to observe a minute silence for the departed souls in the Omala local government area of Kogi State. 2, urge the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, and the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to assist the affected communities in the Omala local government area of Kogi State with relief materials and other forms of supports necessary for their rehabilitation. Equally, urge the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, and NEMA to provide minimal seed capitals for the women and youths in the community to facilitate their various economic activities. I so move, Your President.